Hello guys, Mr. Thompson here, bringing you Forces lesson number 12. This week's lesson objectives. I want you to know what is meant by stopping distance, thinking distance, and braking distance. This is what the whole lesson's about today, and then assessment on Friday. You should be able to explain the factors which affect the braking and the thinking distances. Also understand how to interpret distances from the highway code, which will be part of your driving test in the years to come. And also be able to determine distances from a velocity time graph. Okay, let's check the spec. There's about 4 pages here. Stopping distance, I'll just read them out for you slowly. The stopping distance of a vehicle is the sum of the distance a vehicle travels during the driver's reaction time, which is called thinking distance, and the distance it travels under braking force, which is called braking distance. For a given braking force, the greater the speed of the vehicle, the greater the stopping distance. Okay, so the thinking distance depends on your reaction time. Reaction times vary from person to person. Some people are faster than others. Typical value is about 0.2 to 0.9 seconds. You know the little ways you can measure that. We'll do that when we get back into the school. A driver's reaction time can be affected by tiredness, drugs and alcohol. Distractions may also affect the driver's ability to react. Students should be able to explain methods used to measure human reaction times and recall typical results. Interpret and evaluate measurements from simple methods to measure the different reaction times of students and evaluate the effect of various factors on thinking distance given data. Now this links a bit with biology where you can measure your reaction time, so we'll talk about that when we get back into school. What are the factors that affect braking distance? The braking distance of a vehicle can be affected by adverse road and weather conditions and also poor conditions of the vehicle. So it's all about the vehicle and the road. Adverse road conditions include wet or icy conditions. Poor conditions of the vehicle is limited to the vehicle's brakes and tyres. So poor brakes, tyres or icy conditions would mean a longer braking distance. So you should be able to explain why these factors will affect the distance required for road transport vehicles to come to rest in emergencies and the implications for safety. You should be able to estimate how the distance required for road vehicles to stop in emergency varies over a range of typical speeds. And again, mention it again, this is really important when you learn to drive and form part of your theory test. So well worth doing. When a force is applied on the brake, work done by the friction force between the brakes and the wheel reduces the kinetic energy of the vehicle and the temperature of the brakes increases. So you should have noticed that brakes, if you've got a bike, if you pull your brakes, the brake pads and the rims of the wheel will get hot. That's an energy transfer. The greater the speed of the vehicle, the greater the braking force needed to stop the vehicle in certain distances. So the greater the braking force, the greater the deceleration of the vehicle. Large decelerations may lead to brakes overheating and or coming out of control. Students should be able to explain the dangers caused by large decelerations, and for the higher tier, estimate the forces involved in deceleration. That links to some of the previous work we've done on motion. Okay, your lesson tasks today. This week, you're going to open the assessment up at the start of this lesson. I've sent you the link on Show My Homework, and you're going to answer the questions in order as you watch the Fuse School video. So you need the Microsoft Forms open and the Stop and Distances video from Fuse School, and you can simply pause the video when you come to an answer, put it in the forms, go back to the video until you get to the end. Though the video is only 3.5 minutes long, I've picked out 10 key questions from it to basically you're going to prove that you've watched it and you've understood it. And I'll see you all get 10 out of 10 in this lesson, I hope. Once you've done that, you'll start a new page in your book. Put a title, force and braking. You're going to write out definitions of what you've seen on the video, list the factors that affect the thinking and braking distances, and sketch a graph. These are later in the PowerPoint. So here's the stopping distances assessment I've got for today, if you have that open. And here's the stop and distances Fuse. Both links are sent in Show My Homework if you want to pause this video now and you can complete that assessment. Okay, what you need to do in your book now, you need a definition of thinking distance. Thinking distance is a distance you travel during your reaction time, and it can be calculated by speed times time. Don't get confused between the thinking time and the thinking distance. One's in seconds, the other one's in meters. So you want to copy this into your book. Okay, second slide on thinking distance. What is it affected by? It's affected by the reaction time. So we'll come on to another slide in a minute where you can point those things out. If you want to copy that into your book. And next on, the braking distance is the distance you travel while you're braking. From the moment you put your foot on the brake to the moment you stop, it's how far you travel during that time. It's called the braking distance. You want to copy that into your book. And the braking distance depends on weather, road and vehicle conditions, also on the mass and the velocity of the vehicle. You copy that and we've got a few more slides to go. Okay, if you want to make a little table in your book, the thinking distance is the human factors. So if you're asked that in an exam, you could put tiredness, alcohol and drugs, phones, loud music, and also the speed, which is not really a human factor, but all those things will affect the thinking distance. If you're tired or under influence or distracted, your thinking distance will be longer because your reaction time is longer. Remember, the distance is in meters, the time is in seconds. And for the braking distance, you're looking at the road conditions, the car conditions, but also the speed. You'll notice that the speed affects both. Bigger speed means your thinking distance is longer. It also means your braking distance is longer, or further, I should say. Okay, now you want to study this graph and sketch this down. We know that thinking distance plus the braking distance gives you the overall stopping distance. This graph shows you how you could calculate it at certain speeds. So you can see the blue area there, the area under the graph, you should know, it will give you the distance traveled. So the first one is 0.9 seconds times 18. If you multiply those together, it'll tell you how many meters you travel while you are thinking about braking. And then the kind of reddy pink area, and the area under that graph would be a triangle. You can work that out. That would give you the distance you travel while you're braking, the braking distance. Add the two together to get the full area, and you would get the overall stopping distance. It's important you copy this as an example in your book, the last thing you need to do in your books today. I also mentioned stopping distances. If we were in the classroom, I'd give you a little printout of this and you can stick it in. It's up to you if you want to do that. You don't need to learn them for GCSE. You just need to be aware that as the speed gets bigger, the distance gets bigger, but not in a linear way. So if you double the speed, it doesn't go by 2, and in fact going from 20 to 40 miles per hour increases the distance by 3 times. So instead of 12 meters at 20 meters per second, it would be 36 at 40 miles per hour. And therefore, they have the kill the speed adverts to try and kill people's speed, to make them realize that increasing your speed by just a bit has a big effect on your stopping distances. Okay, thanks for listening. Look forward to seeing your scores and your GCSE assessment on Friday.